Guys, I'm Metro Critical Flick. Today I'll be reviewing No One Will Save You, now streaming on Hulu. So this film is a new minimalist sci-fi horror film, and it stars Caitlin Dever. She plays a woman who is moving back to her childhood home in her childhood hometown, and she's kind of living in isolation. We know she's dealing with a little bit of kind of trauma in her past and some events that are kind of held to the end of the film, and I feel like this movie really gets going pretty quickly. I like that about it. It's only about an hour and a half long, and it doesn't take more than 10 minutes for really to start the story and get these aliens involved. And when I say aliens, this town is invaded by extraterrestrials, and I think they use an interesting character design of them being kind of the traditional gray alien with some slight variances in kind of their physical metamorphosis. So I like that. It may be a little uninspired because obviously we've seen this type of alien a million times before in film and pop culture. But as a fan of kind of extraterrestrial content and documentaries, I like that it feels like kind of an alien we can relate to, and all the accounts we've seen in abductions and kind of close encounter stories. That being said, I feel like the writer and director of this film really took into account and took inspiration from some real life encounters. You can tell that he's someone who's kind of maybe read up on different kinds of close encounters with extraterrestrials and kind of try to inject those stories into this one. As far as the performance, Caitlin Dever does a really solid job playing this character. Kind of the twist on this story is that there's little to no dialogue. She has to kind of convey the entire story through physicality and facial expressions, and she does a really good job. She's playing someone who is highly broken by events from her past and trying to move past that and being thrown into this kind of environment where she is an alien herself in a way. We kind of come full circle with that by the end of the film, but in the beginning she is very isolated both physically and socially, and you can really feel that in her performances without her really having to say anything. As far as the visual effects go, the CGI, it's good. It's not amazing. I think it's decent. They do a lot of scenes in darkness with the actual aliens, and I think that helps to cover up any kind of not great looking visual textures. There's a few times, particularly in the third act, where it gets a little off the rails and maybe doesn't look the best, but I don't think it's anything that's like egregiously terrible. One of the things that really helps the movie move along at an hour and a half long is that it has a lot of tension. Like I said, from the first 10 minutes onward, we're really thrown into this really intense thing that she's dealing with, these really intense emotions and going through her past as well as dealing with this alien invasion, and they kind of blend together by the third act. And I think that's something that may either lose or gain people is the third act of this film. It gets a little bit crazy and it really dives into dealing with trauma and human emotion and kind of what we do as humans and seeing that being observed by aliens. So I kind of liked that take on it. It doesn't feel like you're just murderous extraterrestrials are just coming to kill people or do something terrible to them. It feels like maybe it's something trying to study or understand who we are. There are two parts of that because there are some things happening in this movie that clearly show that they're just kind of trying to take over the world. But I do like that it dives into that aspect a little bit in the third act. It may sound kind of strange, but in a lot of ways, this movie reminds me if you blended Signs with The World's End. I know those are two very different alien movies, but it takes kind of elements of both of those films and makes a really interesting watch. It's not going to blow your socks off. It's not just a incredible film, but it's really enjoyable. It's very creative. I love that artistic expression of doing it almost entirely without dialogue and having to rely on that sound design and the score. And when you do that, it can create even more tension. We don't have our main character running around talking to themselves throughout the whole film. She's very isolated, and you feel that with her. You feel the tension, her struggling to escape this situation. So if I were to rate No One Will Save You, I would give it an 8 out of 10. It's an enjoyable alien sci-fi horror film. That's something that I like. It's a genre that I love, so I fully enjoyed it. If you check it out, let me know what you thought about it. Did you like it less than me? Did you like it more? And honestly, I really want to know, this is a totally unrelated question in many ways. Do you believe in aliens? Do you think aliens are real? How do you feel about kind of extraterrestrials? Leave those comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys next time.